Hi everybody, TJ Mack Vintage Cards and Nostalgia here. And in today's video, I'm going to share a prize that I won from a contest that Dylan, DoubleD Vintage Cards, was doing back earlier this summer. And I was just thrilled to win this contest, mainly because I have a special connection with Dylan in that we both love to display our cards, and we just love putting our cards together in certain themes. And I'm inspired by him, and I know he's mentioned that he's been inspired by some of the themes I have done as well. So we have that between us, and I just was thrilled when I won that contest because now I'm going to have a piece of his collection into my collection, and that has very special meaning to me. But before I do that, I want to show off another card today that has a lot of meaning to me. And to do that, I'm just going to take you back a little bit into the late 1980s. And at this time, my parents would sometimes go to yard sales on the weekend in the city I lived in. And it was just a way for them to kill time and just maybe add a few, items to the household. And I remember one particular weekend, my dad was going through the newspaper and he saw that they were selling baseball cards at one of the yard sales. And he asked if I wanted to go because he knew I was collecting cards at the time. And I said, yeah, sure. So we piled into the car, my parents and I, and we went to a few other places before we eventually got to that particular address that had the sports cards for sale. And as I was going through the other places, I never really been to many garage sales before that or yard sales. And it was really neat because you would go through and you just would see all this stuff laid throughout the yard. And I just remember combing through like old plates and artwork and magazine racks. And then you'd see like old lamps and different things like that. And when you think about it, you're really given a glimpse into somebody's life and somebody's past. And you're really learning about the history of that person or people within that family just by all the items that are in their yard. And the same is really true of us as card collectors. You can make that parallel that, especially if you're a vintage card collector, there's very few cards in my collection that I originally owned. Pretty much all my cards came from other people's collections, or whether they ripped it out of a pack at that point, or maybe they collected it after the person that opened it out of the pack. So we could be the third, fourth owner of some of these cards. And there's something special about that. There's that history that transfers over with the cards. So that's one of the reasons why I think, I'm drawn to the vintage collecting is because of that connection to others as well, not just the nostalgia for me and that history. It's that connection to other people that had these cards. So anyway, we go to that last place, and then I, walk up and I see all the items, laying around that I saw at all the other places. But there was a card table there that had a few binders on it. And I remember thumbing through the binders and seeing cards mainly from the 60s and 70s in there. And they were priced probably at the market for that time. I don't remember any like real deals in there. And the man that had the binders said that these cards belonged to his son and that he was selling them for him. And I went through it and I noticed that there was one card in there in particular that caught my eye. And the reason why I have these two other cards here is because it's going to help tell the story of the card that I added. And I've talked about these two cards some before. Well, the 59 Topps Mantle All-Star is the first Mantle that I ever held in my hands. It was owned by a man that was friends with my dad when he was younger. They bought 59 Topps cards. Well, he kept his cards, and he gave them to my dad for me to sort. I didn't get to keep them, but I got to sort through them for him because he knew that I collected cards, and I organized them, put them in sheets, and then I gave them back to him. And one of the cards that he had was the 59 Topps Mickey Mantle All-Star. And that was the first time I ever held that card, or any Mantle card, is probably a better way of saying it, in my life. I've seen them before, but I never held a Mantle card in my hands. And it just meant a lot to me, just given my, Mantle was my dad's favorite player, and just that connection within my family to him. And then the 65 Topps, I've talked about this, where I saved my paper route money back in 1989. I got this card for $75. It's not the specific one. The original I got rid of a long time ago, unfortunately, but I bought this one to replace it. And it has special meaning to me because it was the first base Mantle card that I ever owned. But the first Mantle card that I ever owned was on that day at the garage sale, and it was this card right here, the 1963 Topps Bomber's Best. And I paid $20 for this card that day, which is probably about $50 in today's money. And I didn't really know who Bobby Richardson or Tom Tresh was, but I obviously knew who Mickey Mantle was. And this card just meant a lot to me because it was the first Mantle card that I ever had. And as we know, even back then, you know, collections were judged by Mickey Mantle. If you had a Mickey Mantle in your collection, it's like, wow, that's just such a special card to own. And this card, it has a lot of personal meaning to me because I did buy it with my dad that day, and it was the first one. But it's got meaning on other levels, too, that I'm not going to talk about today. There's two other things about this card that really are special to me. And I'm going to wait, like I said, to do that because it's a better story told for another day because there's an item that I want to acquire that's going to really add even more meaning to this card, and I'm looking for it right now. But for today, I just wanted to share this story with you and this card because it just has such deep meaning to see these three cards together. And I've talked about before how I gave the 59 Topps Mickey Mantle All-Star to my oldest son because he's a huge Mantle fan, so we have that connection. And now that I have this Bomber's Best card to go along with the first base Mantle that I ever bought as a kid, it just has, like I said, a lot of special meaning to me. And that's, you know, what collecting is about, where I'm at in my life. You know, it's that collecting my childhood. And I showed a few videos back, a display in one of my cases, a couple rows of my collecting history. And I'm going to just put together a full display case of that. I have some cards that I'm targeting that I had as a kid. That's what I'm really going back to right now, is just returning to that special time in my collection. And I just want to add those types of cards. So that's where I'm at right now. And I'm going to show you next a special item that I got from Dylan. So here you have the 2018 Bowman Shohei Ohtani that Dylan gave away in his contest, and I was just so fortunate to win it. This is by far the newest card that I personally own. My oldest son has baseball cards that, of course, are much newer, but in my personal collection, I don't own anything near 2018 Bowman. So this card is going to be mine. I want to put it in this display case I'm putting together of cards that have special meaning to me from my childhood origins of collecting up to the present day. So this one's going to go into that run of cards. And I do plan on showing that display in a future video when I get it all together. It's one, like I said, it just has such special meaning to me as a collector. And I'm just proud to say that I'm going to have this Shohei Ohtani in there with it. So Dylan also had sent to me this package. I'm going to open it up now. I'd opened it before, but I wanted to seal it up again and then show it here. So Dylan's wife put together these beautiful stickers that she designed, and man, they're just awesome. And my youngest daughter in particular really likes them, so I held them aside. I showed them to her, and she just was drawn to them. She loves art, and now I can give them to her to actually use, but I wanted to save them first to do this video. So these are just great, Dylan. I want to thank your wife for putting these together and for you sending them to me. And I got to say this about Dylan, is he is so good at packaging. I've ordered hundreds, if not thousands, of packages on eBay over the years, and I got to say his is right up there with the best that I've ever seen packaged. He has an eye for quality, and I just have a lot of respect for him. And he also gave me a few, two of his cards. So I got this here. Keep inspiring, my friend. And you're an inspiration to me as well, Dylan. And I just really means a lot to me. I got this card from you. And then I got this other one that's been signed by him, along with Adam from Turn Back the Clock. Just two really cool items to have. And I got this 89 Topps pack that I don't plan to open. I'm going to hold on to that just as a special memory of him. I think the pack intact means more to me than it would be if I opened it. So Tani is meaning to me, and I'm going to share more about that even beyond the fact that Dylan had given it to me. But I wanted to show the Bomber's Best card again because Dylan is very into the combo cards, and I told him that he's inspired me on that. And I'm going to add more combo cards. This one was really one of the most important to add to me for the reasons I explained earlier. But I also have the Mantle and Mays Manager's Dream as well. And I want to add some more over time just because I've really gained an appreciation for the combo cards through Dylan's channel. Here's the Ohtani from my son Michael's collection. So I think it's really neat now that we have that connection between the two of us. We got Ohtani pitching here, and then here's a rookie card of him batting as well. And it just really highlights how unique a player he is. And there's really 3 players in my lifetime that really just had such a unique skill set, unlike anything I've ever seen. We know that Ohtani's drawn comparisons to Babe Ruth because of his ability to hit and to also pitch, and he's excellent at both. But in my lifetime, he's one of really 3 special athletes I saw that have such unique talents. And again, Ohtani's the first one, and I'm going to share the other 2 now. Rickey Henderson is shown here in his 87 Donruss. To me, had a very, very unique skill set that you still haven't seen in baseball. He didn't strike out a lot comparing to other players of his time. He had a very good plate discipline. He had power for a leadoff hitter that was unlike anything seen before. And to steal 80 to 120 bases some years, and then develop that power over time to where he was hitting 20 plus home runs every year, in addition to stealing those 70, 80, 90 bases. It's just so impressive. It's a skill set that stands out in comparison to others, and just really a marvelous player that could take over a game without hitting home runs. He was just a demon on the base paths and really changed the game and the running game in baseball. So somebody very special to me. And then, of course, in the center here, you have Bo Jackson with his ability as a football and baseball player. He was one of the best running backs of his time, albeit a short career. And he really had the makings to be an excellent baseball player, especially for somebody that was playing football at the same time. To do as well as he did at baseball before he got injured really shows how talented that man was. And I'd just be interested to know if you have anybody that you followed that you thought was uniquely talented. What I'm saying is they just have a skill set that stands out amongst other players. Not necessarily just being the best player, but just really brought something different to the table than other players at that time. So that's all I have for today. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll talk again soon.